This is the CFF Sites Week Zero preview show. My name is Joe DeSalvo, the voice of the CFF site, and I'm flying solo in this show today as we lead up to Week Zero. Kickoff is here for the 2025 college football season, one of the biggest draft weekends in college fantasy football. Everything's updated. The preseason fantasy draft guide, the preseason player projections. We actually have now the week zero projections live on the site. And Mike Bainbridge has posted his first DFS write up of the season live on the site. We've got everything ready to rock and roll. We are ready to go. A little bit of a different show now as we come out of the preseason content into the week zero. Just wanted to do a quick show touching on the 5 games and really what are we looking for this weekend as fantasy owners. What should we be looking for going into this first weekend of college football with just a limited slate? 5 games. We're going to touch upon each one of those. But before we get started, the helmet blitz is off and running. As you can see behind me, more helmets, more of you guys help chipping in. I've got to give a shout out before we go ahead and get started. But remember, if you want to chip in for your favorite teams as part of the Helmet Blitz to start building these walls behind me, and I've got other plans for this studio as well, go ahead, go to the Helmet Blitz link on the homepage of the site. Go ahead and contribute some money. Let's get your team up on that shelf on the wall that I've got started over here. But first, a quick shout out to some of the latest people to kind of pitch in. Neil Estad, Steven Jackson. Steven says, Joe, get that Michigan helmet up there. Put it over a team that we've beaten so you can just remind them that we're over them every time that they see their helmet. So we've added that UW helmet. You can see Michigan above the UW. Taking home that natty a couple of years ago. Jim Seward, Richard Aluzzi, Jeremy Brock, Scott Bischoff, Zachary Williams, Glenn Baker sending in and says, Hail Pitt. They have produced 10 Pro Football Hall of Famers tied with Ohio State for 4th most all time. He's like, get that Pitt helmet up there. We've got it. Frank Sciarra, Johnny Witt, who says, I need my Golden Domers up there. The Golden Domers right there behind me. Michael Johnston and Jeremy Poletto. And there's many more to come. I'll do it on future shows, but I'll stop right there. I don't want the show to be all list, but we've got more helmets coming. But if you don't see your team up there, go ahead, visit the Helmet Blitz on the homepage of the site and contribute for your teams. But let's get into week zero. Limited slate, as I mentioned. I think for me, the big game of the weekend, the Iowa State-Kansas State game. For me, no game has bigger implications on what may happen throughout the season, or at least as far as a conference championship is concerned. Iowa State playing Kansas State. And from a fantasy perspective, look, Avery Johnson, quarterback, Kansas State. Dylan Edwards, running back, Kansas State. I think we know what we're going to get. Joe Jackson, the running back 2 at Kansas State, getting a little steam as preseason camp ends. We know that that's a run-heavy offense. Let's see how involved Joe Jackson is utilized in that offense to see if he's going to be a fantasy asset for us moving forward, but put him on your watch list. And over on the Iowa State side, we've got Rocco Beck, we've got Carson Hansen returning at running back, Abu Sama as well. For me, I'm under the opinion I like Carson Hansen this year. I think he could be 1,000-yard, double-digit touchdown back. He had double-digit touchdowns last year. Could we see a higher utilization this year, or will we see much of a rotation? Maybe similar to last year. I'm on board on the Carson Hansen train this year. I think he could be a bigger fantasy asset this year than he was just a season ago. And I think the bigger question for Iowa State, as we've invested now in some of their receivers during this offseason, the transfers they brought in, Chase Sowell and Xavier Townsend. Let's see how well they figure into that system for Iowa State and their utilization in that passing game, and see if we get some clear wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 vibes in that matchup between Iowa State, Kansas State on the Iowa State side. You've got Fresno State playing Kansas. E.J. Warner, the transfer that came in from Temple, obviously the quarterback there with Fresno State, but It's going to be a run heavy offense, right? Which makes Bryson Donaldson that much more valuable this year. We really like him a lot at the CFF site. Let's see how Bryson Donaldson gets off running in that matchup against Kansas this week. He's probably, as far as the Fresno State side goes, the player to actually own this year. From the wide receiver standpoint, I'm not really sure we're going to have a lot of depth or a lot of utilization on the Fresno State wide receivers, but depending on the league, format, size, we'll see if somebody like Josiah Freeman is a fantasy asset this year for Fresno State. Over on the Kansas side, right, you've got Jalen Daniels back at quarterback. You've got Daniel Highshaw and LaShawn Williams at the running back spot. For me, we have Daniel Highshaw projected at that running back one. Will we get a true running back one, running back two? Will we get a 1A? Will we get a 1A, 1B scenario with Williams coming in as the transfer there? That's what I'm going to be watching for in that game. And then, of course, Emmanuel Henderson getting some steam in Kansas preseason camp. Let's see what happens with the utilization with the passing game for Kansas State and see if Emmanuel Henderson gets a lot of looks and becomes the clear-cut wide receiver one in that Kansas offense. Apparently and reportedly in preseason camp, he's been the one guy that has really been the standout on offense. We go to the UNLV Idaho State matchup. We do not really anticipate much of a game in this matchup. So what's interesting is, will we get some clarity at the quarterback spot, right? You've got Anthony Calandria. We've got Alex Orji there. It looks like both guys are going to play. At least that's what Dan Mullen says. I do not know if this is the matchup where we're going to get a lot of clarity. Does this go into game two? Or will we see a scenario where maybe Calandria is the quarterback one, Alex Orji has some packages in there, both get utilized? It'll be interesting to see what Mullen can do with these quarterbacks. It looks like both of them will play. And then even at the running back spot, it'll be interesting to see what unfolds there. But I'm not expecting to get a lot of clarity out of this Idaho State matchup as well. You got Jaden Thomas. You've got Jalen Glover. You've got Kevon Lee. I can see where there's, all three guys get utilized in this game. And that's the thing with these week zero matchups. We know we've got week one on tap, right on deck with Alabama and Florida State, just a game where you've got to come out. Iowa State, Kansas State, we're going to see those true RB1, RB2. We're going to see that pecking order. With this matchup against Idaho State, I'm not really sure we're going to get that from UNLV. We're hopeful we will, but let's see how that unfolds. It's really hard to kind of attach our hitch to any one particular quarterback or any one particular running back right now for UNLV. And then Stanford, Hawaii, a lot of hope, a lot of hype for Micah Alejado, quarterback for Hawaii. Let's see how this game unfolds for him. This could be sort of a game that really sets the tone for his 2025 performance. We know what we're going to get. We're going to get him chucking the ball around a lot. We're going to see him tuck it a good bit and run. We know that they have a couple of proven receivers in Pofel Ashlock and Nick Senecal. Let's go ahead and throw Jackson Harris on that list as well. All three guys should bring value from a fantasy perspective this year. It'll be interesting to see Stanford, who named Ben Goldbranson their starting quarterback. As far as their fantasy assets go, maybe Micah Ford at the running back spot, Sam Roush, the tight end, maybe the two guys that you're looking at, maybe in a DFS play, and possibly a wild card CJ Williams at that wide receiver spot. But for me, all eyes are on Hawaii right now. I think in the long run, I'm not particularly sure that Stanford's going to have those long-term fantasy assets. But on the Hawaii side, a lot of hope for Micah Alejado and that wide receiver trio that I just named. And then as we get to the final game that I'm going to touch on this weekend, I saved this for last because I believe the Sam Houston Western Kentucky game has potential to be the most fun game. I'm looking forward to watching Iowa State, Kansas State the most, but from a fun fantasy perspective, San Jose State, Western Kentucky is at the top of my list. Now, with that being said, when I'm recording the show, no true depth chart on the Sam Houston side. So I think we're really going into this matchup, for those of you that do not include week 0 into your season, this is a really good matchup to get an idea of what Sam Houston is going to look like at the quarterback spot, what they're going to look like at the running back spot. Not a lot of clarity on the depth chart at all, or did we get clarity and it wasn't what we were expecting? So for right now, Sam Houston, I think if you're touching this game from a DFS side, if you're looking for the safety right now, it may be at receiver with Quavez Humphreys and Michael Phoenix. Those two guys seem to be set in stone at the wide receiver spot as far as who we thought were going to be a couple of the top receivers and who landed on the depth chart. But right now, quarterback, running back seem to be a little bit of an unknown going into this matchup. And then on the Western Kentucky side, a lot of praise for Maverick McIver in the preseason. Had a great spring game. He comes in as the transfer. KD Hutchinson should be his top slot receiver. You've got Matthew Henry, who we're expecting to have a good season this year as well. You throw in Musa Berry, and I don't think we can really forget about Cameron Flowers, the guy that the kid that had the 2 touchdowns in the spring game. That's 4 receivers there. What's interesting is, are we going to see a couple of guys really separate? Will we see Hutchinson and Henry really separate themselves as that clear 1-2? Will we see Hutchinson maybe the clear 1? How will Musa Berry fit in that offense? He got good reviews in the spring game. Cameron Flowers was the spring game standout player, but KD Hutchinson, remember, did not play in that game. So a lot of options in that Western Kentucky passing game. What I'm looking for is are we going to get a clear 1-2 when it comes to target volume in that offense? And right now, going into that matchup for us, it's KD Hutchinson and Matthew Henry. But look, it's a light slate. Needed to get something out there to give you guys a shout out, all of you guys that have helped out. And look, again, the Helmet Blitz, if you guys want to get your team up there, even if you want me to just talk some trash to your league mates or some of your rivals, go ahead, visit that site, help out. We're going to got a lot more helmets to come. But that's going to do it for the week 0 slate. Real short and sweet. I'll probably start doing these shows, wrapping up the weeks as we come out of week 1. Probably do a quick show as far as, hey, well, what did we see? We know we've got my notes and observations that always follow the weekend's game. Mike's going to be pumping out those weekly waiver wire pieces. We've got the weekly projections that I'm going to be doing every week. He's going to be doing the DFS write-ups. We've gone from ankle deep, from knee deep, and now we are chest deep, neck high, into the 2025 college fantasy football season with producing content. But that's going to do it. Short and sweet. Week 0 show. The season is here. The games are here. Enjoy it. Good luck to everyone that is drafting this weekend, and maybe I know drafts go into Monday of Tuesday of next week, which I love because it allows the maximum time to get as much player news as possible before you guys draft. But that's it. We're here. Good luck this year. I'll see you on the next show. Enjoy the games this weekend.